Well, you never know how truly mundane your life is until you bring on the original Hollywood fixer to talk about A-list celebrity scandals, sex scandals, and everything that's gone on the underbelly of Hollywood for the last 30 years. Welcome to One Degree of Scandalous with the one and only Kato Kaelin.
I love shows that we have. First of all, I love films that have private detectives. And this guy is the most private detective. Like you call him the fixer because he fixes problems. And you're going to be surprised that not all of them just carry a gun in a club like Ray Donovan.
Yeah.
But there's so much brain work that goes into there. If you have to jump into a dumpster, you get clues. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's not as glamorous. By the way, I'm Tom Zenner. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you download and subscribe, if you haven't on your audio, wherever you get your audio podcast, go to YouTube. If you don't watch us, make sure you watch us. You got to see Kato. You got to see our guests in person. So subscribe to our channel, One Degree of Scandalous, and we'll have great content for you every week. But hey, welcome to the show. We're talking about Paul Baresi. We had him on maybe a year and a half ago, but so much has happened with him. Big stories, big celebrities that he's working with, including one he's going to tease a little bit. He's involved in a pretty big case right now that we'll talk about maybe 4 or 5 months down the road. But man, he had something with Sharon Stone, and he was all over the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard story too.
Well, he's a series. He's a guy you have to have on every like 4 months because something's going on.
Yeah.
And he's in the heart of Hollywood, and he's working these stories that you go, oh, so this guy knows the inside, the real inside of what's going on with these celebrities.
You know, Kato, he's kind of like one of those guys where you always have to have somebody on speed dial, right? You have to have like a certain, like for you and I, you got to have a good lawyer. You got to have maybe somebody, in the police force. You got to have like just a really connected maitre d' or owners of restaurants. And then a Hollywood fixer. I'm glad I know Paul, just in case, right? Just in case, because he gives off the vibe that if something's wrong, he'll fix it. Hence the title.
You live a better life than I do. My speed dial is just DoorDash. So you got a much better life and Uber Eats. Jeez, I'm doing something wrong.
Well, you're a newlywed still. You've only been married a year and a half. How was Thanksgiving? How was Temecula?
Temecula's great. Wine country. Went there. Went to some. We had some friends in town from Colorado. So it was just, guys that I've known for, since high school and that, and just laughs galore.
Did you drink some wine? Do you like wine?
I did. I actually had a glass. I usually like Pinot Noir, but I had a little glass of Sauvignon Blanc, which I never drink because I get these migraines. But I had that.
Okay.
And I had my favorite meal, Tom, is turkey and cranberry sauce.
Who's the best?
80% of all the cranberry.
You broke that on the show last week.
So,
but all the cranberries come from Wisconsin.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Most
I
of
thought
it
was just cheese.
Yeah, cheese too. But oh God, it was a great dinner.
Yeah, and I felt like I could actually text you and say, "Hey, happy Thanksgiving" around 1:00 because the Packer game was over and they won. Yeah, they beat Detroit on that day.
Who would have thought?
Right? So that was all good for you. Okay, so I'm going to text you Paul's number so you have a Hollywood Fixer's phone number in your phone just in case. You never know. And what do you say we get to it?
Let's go. I can't wait to see Paul.
Okay, the original Hollywood Fixer, the man, Paul Baresi, coming up right after this break. All right, Kato. Man, it was about a year and a half ago we had this man joining us, which was one of my favorite guests of last year. And with so much stuff that he's involved in, we had to bring him back.
Well, we are a scandalous show, and this gentleman knows scandals. Trust me, he knows scandals, and he's a private detective, and they're my favorite people to talk to. They're so informed.
And he's got a great memory, and he has an amazing ability to tell a story. Let's bring him in, our buddy Paul Baresi, the original Hollywood Fixer.
Love it.
Paul, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Great. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back, Paul. Man, you just got the look. I'm not even going to talk about your age,
I
but
was just going to say that.
You look like if you came out of Central Casting and they said, we need an old school vibe for a Hollywood fixer who A-list stars, when they get in big trouble, they make one phone call. Or it's their agent or their manager or their lawyer or their sister or somebody. Paul, before we start talking about some of these new scandals that you've been involved in, how does somebody get a hold of you when they need you?
Word of mouth.
So it really is just word of mouth. There's no other way to find you. It's just that the people read an article and say, I got to get that guy.
Well, remember, I work for some of those most prominent entertainment lawyers in the country. So they know as a last resort, they've got my number. They know about me.
And Paul, it's in this day and age, it's probably easier because they'll see you in the Daily Mail, they'll see you in Fox News, they'll see you in the New York Post, and then they can find you on social media and DM you. I would imagine you get a little business that way too. It's got to be funny when you get a DM from A. Heard or J. Depp or something like that, and you're going, let me check this one out.
Yeah, it's true. Putting things in the paper, I've taken a lot of criticism, but that's an effective tool. If something goes public and there's a pain in the ass on your back, and they see that it's going to go public and the whole world is going to know about them, they tend to shy off. Believe it or not, there are more attorneys that go for that than you might think.
You know, Paul, I was wondering, when you watch a film that involves a private detective, like let's say the Coen brothers, like Blood Simple, and you watch I don't know if you've seen the film, but maybe you have. Do you say that guy played that part perfect, or do you say no, a guy would never do that? Or any film example that you say, that's just too far-fetched. But I always think like the Coen brothers, like in Blood Simple, they play it sort of like they get the real vibe and how a private detective would act. For example, the film is a guy watching the wife cheat on the husband.
Yeah, well, you're talking about a script versus real life stuff, and I look at what they're investigating and I say, I would have done it differently. I do that all the time.
Have you had a case like that before, though, where you've had to hired by a jealous wife or husband?
I told you, I think I might have mentioned last time, I don't like to do domestic cases.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I may as well let the cat out of the bag now. Lala Kent signed me up.
Mm-hmm.
Lala Kent is the star of Vanderpump Rules.
Yep. Yeah, she's had a big scandal for
she's
months.
She's having Randall Emmett, who is her husband, who, I only know what I've read about him so far, and he's like Harvey Weinstein 2.0.
Big
dirtied up 10 times over.
Yeah, he's done a ton of movies. This one's gotten a lot of publicity lately. Paul, when you can talk about it and give us the whole story, you come on back, because that one's an interesting one. Maybe you could even bring Lala with you, and we could talk to both of you. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I spoke with her yesterday, and I actually mentioned I talked to her about the show, and I sent her a follow-up email. So I think we'll see what happens. It'd be nice if she could come on.
No, it'd be great.
I want to say one thing about her, though, from my own personal observation. She's a beautiful woman. She's very bright, and she has heart. And first and foremost, with all her beauty and all of the great attributes that she has, she's a mother first. And that, to me, is commendable.
Well, for like viewers that don't know this, and I don't know the whole story with that, can you just sort of surmise what is going on with that case? Or is there, because I don't know about it.
Well, he's made a ton of money making low-budget films, right?
Yeah,
well, it's all over the LA Times a couple of weeks ago. Every other week there's a story. They're divorced, of course, and they have a child. And they're in the throes now of a custody battle. You could refresh yourself on what it's all about, and then we can, with Lala's permission.
I've seen it in the Hollywood Reporter.
I'll talk about it.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Better. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I know who he is. I just didn't know what was
domestic.
So it's about a settlement of, obviously it's always money involved.
Yeah, we'll let Paul break it down in a few weeks. But man, if you want to go read up on the case, it's there's some juice to it, so it's pretty interesting. Here's the interesting thing, and Paul is the original Hollywood fixer for 25, 30, 35 years. He's the man here in Hollywood, and I saw Paul back in the news recently, and it was attached to this story with Sharon Stone. And by the way, could there have been a bigger female star in the 90s than Sharon Stone?
No,
she was huge.
After Basic Instinct, I almost became a stalker myself.
Well, you know what? Paul would have been on your ass, I guarantee you that, because there is this nut job creep from Hungary named Sandor Boros.
Oh, yeah.
And wait till you hear about the background on this dude. And he was obsessed with Sharon Stone in some capacity. He was reaching out to Sharon's mother, at least either her mother or father, her sibling, Sharon herself, and it was terrifying her. So what does she do? She calls Paul Baresi. All right, she's had a past history with Paul and knows him and knows his work. Paul gets the call, and Paul, this is a great story because you track this guy down and you deal with him in the way only a Hollywood fixer could. So take us from the beginning, how Sharon Stone got a hold of you and told you about this problem she was dealing with.
Okay, well, her sister Kelly Stone, she's married to a gentleman named Bruce Singer. He's a businessman, and he's the family spokesman. He called me up. He said, look, we got a unique situation here. This nut job is stalking the whole family, trying to get to Sharon. And my wife is going crazy, and I need your help. That's how it started. His name is Bruce Singer, no relation to the lawyer. I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, he gave me what he had, and he said, if you can locate him and track him down and tell him to, if you get him on the phone or get in his face or whatever.
Right. So you had to get his number. It's not like they didn't give you his phone number.
I mean, how do you locate?
Yeah.
How do you do
no,
that?
I'll get to that. So what happened was he told me the story. He said that this guy showed up, uninvited, of course, in Montana at the gate of Sharon's brother, Michael, and also at their home in Montana. And he's trying to talk them into helping him see Sharon.
Right.
And so I had a little bit of information. He checked into a hotel called the Arrow Inn in Montana. And I knew the taxi cab service that he used. And so I got a hold of the hotel. I got a hold of the taxi.
Okay, sure. So you got a hold of the taxi service.
Information.
So then how do you get to him?
So I talked to the clerk, and I said, my name Boros, my name Sandor Boros, hello. Hello, Mr. Boros, you remember me? I remember you. And then I gave them a whole story about how I lost my my receipts when I stayed. Well, we have to know that I already knew the dates when he was there. Yeah. I said, I think it was around the 14th, and between the 14th and 17th. She said, that's right. I said, oh, and do you have my number here in the United States or in
So what do you have for my number, right? What,
yeah, and she gave me the goddamn number.
Oh my God,
the whole goddamn overseas number.
By the way, that was a Borat impersonation, not Boros.
I didn't even know how he sounded, but it turns out I sounded just like him.
You're Liam Neeson, Brian Mills, and Taken.
The only difference is I did more like a Russian accent or something.
Okay,
like
so that's the first step. Get his number.
Here's what happened. She gives me her name is Bambi, and real nice lady. She gives me the number, and a couple of times I was talking deliberately, not really speaking well, and I don't understand you. I don't understand you. And so I would try to speak clearer, but it was the best ruse ever.
No, it's great. Okay, so you got the number, right? And then
and she said, well, I can't give you that information, your invoice or your bill copy. You'll have to call back and speak with the manager tomorrow. And so, because I wanted to get proof that he was there, you see.
First step, sure.
And so I thought since I got that far, maybe I could get I said I needed the information for my taxes. I lost my records, and she fell for it hook, line, and sinker. It was a real good pretext call, one of the best I've ever done, with the accent and everything.
Okay, so you have possession of the phone number, and then I heard the recording of your call to him, and I got to tell you, man, you did one hell of a job. You were so patient with this guy, and you had him befriending you, basically. I was ready for you to verbally wring his neck, but you were just playing it smooth. I guess that's the beauty. That's the charm of what you do. You have to know when to come in hard and come in soft.
What you didn't hear was the beginning of the conversation. I was real apologetic because I said, I hope that Sharon's family they weren't rude to you, and if they were, I apologize. I was really kissing up to him because I wanted to get him on my side. I was speaking slowly, and once I got him to open up, then I could start collecting the information that I needed. In fact, Scott Garriola, who retired about a year and a half ago, he was head of the Fugitive Task Force, and I gave him a call for some advice, and even he said the same thing, that the questions, the way I handled it was spot on, and
So what?
you always get what you want with honey. Use a little bit of honey, and you get what you want.
Yeah, I was
That's
going
how
to
it
say. So
goes.
you sort of like you probably saw him as no threat. You kind of diffuse it so there won't be a threat, and you, like you said, you get him on your side. So you're it's public relations, really.
Yeah, well, I got him on the phone. I mean, he was leaving to Budapest. He's from Budapest. I didn't even know what country he was from.
Yeah.
And he was at the airport in London, and that's where we had our conversation. That segment that the Daily Mail reported on was just a small portion of the conversation. We had a 17-and-a-half-minute conversation. They edited it down to 4 minutes.
I mean, Paul, I got to hand it to you because he had already made one trip to the United States, like 7.
I got to hand it to myself.
Well, we'll both hand it to you. I think Cato's pretty proud of you too. So he goes 7,000 miles to try to get to one of the siblings' homes, goes to Montana, and then you get a hold of him at the airport, right? Who knows where he's going?
Right.
This whack job trying to
Yeah.
bring harm to Sharon Stone, a great American superstar. But you talked him out of it, basically. You sounded like a great telemarketer. Like you upsold him, right? You said, hey, I'd appreciate
everything
if you
fell
wouldn't
in
do
place.
this.
It all just felt, everything that just felt so beautifully in place. I mean, I even got him to allude to, I knew who he went to see, but if you listen to the tape, I'll go, and you went to the home of the mother, and then you went to the home of the brother, like, what's his name? I didn't say what's his name, but I hesitated. He goes, yes, Michael. And then I said, and the home of this, the Sharon's sister, that's Kelly. He's telling me,
And so he also told you that he was wasn't in the Army. He suffered from traumatic distress.
He said he suffered with
PTSD.
I said, what was this mental problem you had? And he said, well, I was in the Army, and so he suffered with post-traumatic.
Well, this guy was
stress.
clearly had bad intentions. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no question about it. He's already come to
and
Montana
then
one time.
also, don't forget too, I said, not to interrupt you, but I'm still kind of high over this case. I love the way it all worked out. I asked, let's just say I asked the right questions. Okay. I mean, it worked out like a charm.
So
You played him like a fiddle.
Couldn't have worked out better.
So after this happened, you fix the situation. Did you get a thank you from Sharon, the family?
Oh, yeah.
From everybody?
They're all very, very happy. It was Sharon, the whole family was grateful.
Wow.
But I cautioned them. I said that you got to be careful because people who are charming, I mean, Ted Bundy was charming, right? They can be the most dangerous.
Right.
So,
Earning trust.
But they had a sense of safety knowing that he was so far away. And also we put it in the paper, so he's outed now.
Well, they have different rules in Montana than California. You enter somebody's home in Montana, you might not go back to Hungary.
Oh, yeah.
It might be the end of the road for you. This guy, he was claiming that he was engaged to Sharon Stone at one time, that they had a baby who was murdered. I mean, this guy's just a complete off the reservation, man. This guy just has a very, very high creep factor, and thank God you neutralized him. And, Paul, that was an example of you using a velvet glove, really, in handling a situation, how you had to, all the way across the pond. When he's in London, you're in L.A. Are there examples of maybe a little bit forceful, a little bit more aggressive tactics that you've had to take in the past as the Hollywood fixer?
That's the movies, what you were talking about, the script. you picture, oh, this guy's going to get a bat and smash his, crack his skull open. No, you don't handle it that way. You gotta finesse it. I said, do you have any letters from Sharon? Because they're so intimate, and she allegedly had his child. No, unfortunately not.
No
Do
pictures.
you have any photos with you and Sharon? No. And how old are you? 50, 5, 0. He said he was 50, I think, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, the math doesn't really add up that well.
So that means he was 13 years old.
In
He had the
1986.
baby. He had to be 13 years old. So I knew I was dealing with a real nut.
Right.
And he goes, I'm not lying. And so right after that, I said, I'm not saying you are lying. I knew he was lying, but I need to get more information.
Right.
That's how you do it. You see, I hope you guys are learning something.
I am.
I am.
I hope your audience is learning something.
I think so. You know what? Sharon Stone's mom, I think, is like 93. Alive, right, Paul?
Yeah, she just had her 90th birthday.
90th. Okay, I was close.
Yeah.
I think I saw her at Chuck E. Cheese.
I mean, the audience, they're at home watching, and some of them, they just can't wait to put something there like
You mean it's
something negative.
Well,
they have no fucking clue about what's going on. They
No.
could learn something if they would just listen.
Well, people are listening, Paul. I mean, they definitely
Yeah.
are. But here's the thing. Everybody has that preconceived notion or that idea of what a Hollywood fixer / private detective, but it's probably not as glamorous and sexy as people might think. There's a lot of digging into garbage, climbing trees, surveillance, right? A lot of like detective work that you have to do just to get on these guys' trail, and then you don't want to blow it, right? So there's a certain amount of finesse, and there's no school you go to. You didn't learn that growing up in Boston, right? You had to figure it out on your own out here.
No, I think you develop it. You have an innate ability. I think if anybody's really good at what they do, there's a certain amount of an innate ability that they're born with. I really believe that.
Usually they're called
And,
wives.
Yeah.
You can't
Your
get-
upbringing and your education begins at home. And like I said last time we spoke, I had a really tough
Right.
childhood. It was hard knocks, and so that kind of got me. Aside from Catholic school, it groomed me to be a fixer. Right? We talked about that last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people think of Ray Donovan. You think of the fixer. And he is, but he's cracking skulls left and right every Sunday night on Showtime or wherever that was on.
Tom, that's a script.
Yeah.
Paul, that's all a script. You got it's like
Believe
hard
me,
work.
I wanted so hard. I wanted. It's been so hard over the years. There's so many people I want to just crack their fucking head in, but you don't get any results that way. You end up in jail.
Right, that's it. It's
Right.
not like you have diplomatic immunity or something, right? I mean,
You could get away with it. You could actually get away with it 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but you can't do it now. And
I'm going to go in. I'll go back into Sharon Stone, but also because people want to know, I always thought that the first time I saw Amber Heard in depth, that trial going on, so I'm watching it, and I knew who Amber Heard was. I always said that's a young Sharon Stone. I always looked at her saying, Amber Heard is a young, like when Sharon Stone did a lot of TV movies, War and Remembrance, she's got a career.
Kind of sultry like that.
Yeah, and she's got that.
Okay, no,
you know,
I'm with you. I mean, she's beautiful and she's
Yeah.
incredibly sexy. And boy, that thing just went haywire for her. And we got the man right here who got the call from Amber Heard.
Oh yeah, and with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and now Disney, if you saw, Disney stock is going. They need Johnny Depp, I believe, to do something because right now Minnie Mouse is actually on OnlyFans. That's how bad it's going right now for Disney.
Yeah.
Paul. But so
Is he a big earner? Or wait, Minnie is a she? Is she a big earner?
OnlyFans, Minnie Mouse. Come on, Tom.
Okay,
so-
you can tell I don't go to OnlyFans.
So Paul, you got the phone call from. So people know this. You got the call from Amber Heard's people to spy on Johnny Depp.
From her. Oh yeah. I got the call from Amber. Well, Amber Heard hired the lawyers Eric George and Rick Schwartz, who hired me, and they they told her about me, and she said, "Absolutely, let's get Paul on the job." That's how it all.
Well, it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, and so and when you get that, only because I love hearing this inside Hollywood. When you get the call from their people about Amber Heard, do you know who she is already on your radar? Or you had to Google and find out who she was?
No, I knew who she was. I knew about a little bit about the.
So
what
honest answer.
I knew she was married to Johnny Depp, and I watched Aquaman.
Okay, so did you have feelings one way or another, like, boy, I really want to help this girl, she's so beautiful, I want to help her? Or did you just kind of play it like, I'm going to find out the real facts? Because it can be sort of, you look at something like that.
I don't take sides. There was a point where I started to wonder if I was hired on a faulty assumption, and then to prove, to find the proof.
Right.
In other words, like the cart before the horse.
And
then look for evidence to support it. After
Right.
hired on a faulty assumption. Now, okay, look for evidence to support it. She alleged he was a guy who beat up women. I couldn't find any evidence to that.
It's pretty devious when you think about it, because, the court case hadn't started yet, or maybe it was at the very beginning, and she's hiring somebody to try to find dirt on Johnny Depp. And Paul, your natural inclination has to be towards your client.
Right.
You're thinking, I got to help her. She's paying me. She's paid this retainer. Let me go see what I can find. You end up interviewing over 100 people. 100 people to see if you can find anything out there on Johnny Depp that makes him look like a nefarious character. And then at what point did it flip and you're going, he's not a bad dude?
I was told going in by the lawyers that there's overwhelming evidence to support Amber's allegation. And so I went in pretty confident that I was going to find that he was a guy who beat up women. But I couldn't find it. At least, usually I turn over every stone and I find something, but I couldn't find it.
But you found the opposite, Cato, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did you look at the background of this when he was asking about Johnny? You found out he was a great dude.
No, I know, but when the point is interesting is you're being paid by her people, and when they find out that you say, I can't find anything, that's got to be devastating to their side. And they must have just paid you, but said, okay, we're done with you.
Yeah, she gets rid of people who can't produce for her, and that's what happened. I was there 2.5, almost 3 months working, trying to find evidence, and she fired the lawyers and me.
It's got to be a real character study for you when you dig that deep and you talk to so many people that are close to him. Yeah. And I think, Paul, clear this up for me, but what you found out is he's a very sweet soul, very giving, very caring, but very gullible and naive maybe in some areas too, where he had a lot of leeches, a lot of people around him taking advantage of him. That had to be heartbreaking hearing some of those details, because, you could see part of his fortune slipping away, his personal life, having some serious issues.
Yeah, by the way, I was driven, like any good investigator, when you hit a brick wall, you go back to the beginning. And when I say go back to the beginning, I'm talking about the beginning. So I went back to his childhood, and I delved into from age 13 and a half up until 18. And he went through a lot. His mom and dad were not faithful to one another.
Yeah, but that happens, right?
In 1977, they bought a home in Pembroke Pines, Florida. It looked like there was some normalcy finally in Johnny's life. He was nearing his 14th birthday. The father landed a job with the city of Pembroke Pines as the assistant utilities director. Everything was looking good. He was making $25,000 annually, which is above the average. But he had eyes for a woman on that job. She worked in finance. Her name was Marcia Johnson, a blonde bombshell, and they started an affair. And that's what ultimately broke up the family. And so right after Johnny's mom and dad divorced, 2 months later, he married Marcia Johnson. meanwhile, he gets another job in another city nearby, Hollandale, in Hollandale, Florida. Same capacity, another city job. And while he's married to Marcia, he meets another woman, talking about Johnny's father, named June. And she works as a clerk. And now he's got eyes for June.
I see a trend.
He dumps Marcia for June and marries her. He divorces Marcia, marries June, and that's who he's with now.
All right.
Every month he's got a girl.
But you see what it means. How much confidence did Johnny have as a little boy that monogamy and
true, and then
marriage works.
And then he's a star in his young 20s on 21 Jump Street, and he's been huge since then.
Yeah, I always wondered. You haven't heard. I mean, he's touring the band. You haven't heard a thing about Amber Heard. You haven't heard a thing about Johnny Depp. And I just don't know if you think it's that the trial kind of ruined it, or do you think that there's going to be a huge thing that Johnny Depp gets soon?
Yeah, I think he's got another chapter. I think there's going to be something big for him. And he's too talented, right? I mean, he's bankable. At some point, these studios are going to realize they got to go to the sure thing, and that's not just another retread or a tentpole, right? I mean, unless it's his, because that's. I mean, people would go nuts.
Well, it's got. I think it's got to happen soon.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, but I think there's got to be a breakout. Like you haven't heard, and it's everybody's waiting in there like Johnny Depp, and they're going to have another thing that's going to come out. But with Amber Heard, I have not heard a thing. I think her career might be over.
Paul, I saw this quote from.
Let me just say this because you brought up the trial.
Yeah.
Did you notice how beautifully Johnny's lawyers crafted his defense? Every time that Johnny talked about his father just being a real saint of a guy, you think of Johnny as a reflection of his father. Mm-hmm. Every time his tyrant, mean-spirited, mentally disturbed mother came up, you'd look at Amber. That's how it was crafted. And you have to go back and watch the trial. I don't know how closely you followed it.
Yeah.
I watched it. I watched it.
It was right when we started the show.
I got calls to my colleague.
But it was brilliant. And none of that evidence that I found was brought in. I don't know why Amber's lawyers didn't use it, but they didn't use it.
I read this quote. This is pretty good, Paul, that you dug up from Johnny's tattoo artist of 30-plus years. Here's what he said, quote, "Everything I know about Amber Heard seems to support many claims that she is a lying, two-faced, bottom-feeding fame harpy who lives by the old Hollywood code of hooray for me and F you." Did you have any interaction with her? Is that your interpretation from being
you didn't follow up what he said in the same breath after that. The only thing I would help that lying blah 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 do is load the gun she wanted to use to blow her fucking brains out. That's what he told me.
Not subtle.
That was.
I mean, that's what he said. Those were his words.
Okay.
So obviously he put a tattoo on her at one point, right? I mean, because if he had to have known her, he had to have known her.
Experience with her for sure, right?
Yeah, but it speaks to the people Johnny associated with. It speaks to the character of the people he associated with. I personally, for the life of me, I don't know what he saw in Hunter Thompson. I don't know what he saw in that loser Isaac Baruch or any of these guys. I told Adam Waldman, Johnny's lawyer, after Amber Heard fired us, I said, these people Johnny associates with, they're the bane of his existence. They're leeches. They seek favors and influences and try to get what they can out of them. Right. Give really nothing back. And he agreed. And Adam Waldman told me Johnny understands that and he agrees with. He agreed with me. Whether that's true or not,
Sure.
I don't know.
You know, Paul, you broke into this business as a Hollywood fixer, as a private eye, when Hollywood is a lot more glamorous. Cato, I drove here tonight. We're taping this at night. We're literally in the heart of Hollywood right here. The Hollywood Bowl's right over here. The Hollywood signs
We'll even
right
put
over
the sign up right now. We'll show you the Hollywood picture live right now, too.
Hollywood Boulevard.
We got a live camera.
A block or two over here.
That's a
Boom.
live shot.
That's what we're looking at. But, Paul, could you do what you do? Could you start a career right now doing what you do? Because the glamour isn't there like it used to be. I hope it comes back. Everybody's worried about getting canceled or saying the right thing or being so politically correct or having a political take on everything, and it's just destroying these people, and it makes them so much less interesting as stars. What would you try to do what you did 40-some years ago if you were that age now?
I don't know. Look, I've been at this for 30 years, so... I mean, I'm old, man. I'm pushing 76, but I still got a brain, and I'm creative. And as long as I can keep working, I'm going to keep working. But
Well, obviously, there's a book in you. I mean, the stories. It just
remember where I came from. Ironically, I was adult. I like to say erotic film star, but by any other definition, it's porn, right? And had I not come from that world, I don't think I would have been as equipped to handle these sexually based scandals as well as I'm able to handle. I'll tell you why. There are two major industries in Hollywood. There's the movie industry and the sex industry, which follows the movie industry like the moon. Everybody wants to know who's up, whose ass, who's screwing who's sleeping with, and those are the things that get these celebrities in trouble. Mostly these sexually based scandals. And so, who better than Paul Baresi to go find out where the transvestites are, where the red light district, where the whores are, the mavens, the people that. There were Barry Bonds hired me. He's one of the first cases I worked. There was a porn actress who alleged that she was pregnant with his baby, and I knew exactly where to find her. And so I began. I was in that world. I was in the underbelly of Hollywood from the beginning.
Yep.
It's not like I was up here and I had to dig my way in and learn that way.
Well, what happened
I was already down underneath there.
I'm on the edge of my seat. What happened with the Barry Bonds case? You found out
it was bullshit. It turned out to be another guy. So
right, and he knew that.
But remember, there are a lot of celebrities that go for porn stars. I mean.
This is the first.
I mean, even me. I was a subject of the casting couch scam. There was one woman named Lois Zetter with Lamont Zetter. She came on to me, and she was gonna, get me in the movies. And there were countless guys. Robert Raison, who represented. Is this too much for you to handle, Cato?
No, I was just going to say to myself there that sometimes surprise sex is actually the best thing to wake up to, unless you're in prison. So, Paul.
Well, I mean, I did a movie. Ironically, the first thing I did was The Wild Party with Raquel Welch, because I genuinely wanted to be an actor.
That's something you won't forget.
Raquel Welch.
And Jimmy Coco, a comedic actor, he played Fatty Arbuckle, and who was a silent movie star. You gotta.
Sure.
Well, yeah, Fatty Arbuckle's got his own. He's got his own scandals. Fatty Arbuckle.
But he told me to come on up to his suite, and he had something for me. He handed me a watch. He handed me the watch with this hand, and then had the other hand on my crotch. Watch, crotch.
I'm looking at what time is that?
What a wordsmith.
That's
Welcome to Hollywood. I was going to ask you, like, the percentage of normal sexual relationships here in Hollywood, probably less than 10% when you're talking about big stars. I remember seeing you, Paul, well before I knew you on Fox with Geraldo Rivera discussing an O.J. Simpson porn case where there was an exchange of money and OJ didn't live up to the contract, which just
Well,
is hard
that's
to
the
believe.
other thing. He was following suit, or maybe others followed suit. There was Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. They did a porn movie.
Well,
Kardashian.
they're sex tapes, right?
Kardashian did these are all setups, right?
Is that what you think?
He was doing the same thing.
So it wasn't
a lot of-
accidentally leaked. Do you think this is strategic on their part?
I believe so. I believe they all had. Well, I know OJ was going along with it, but he ended up chickening out, and he turned the cameras around and got the $100,000 from the mafioso guy up front, and it was a big mess, And so
I don't know.
Geraldo, they asked me if I could talk to the editor, a disgruntled editor of the film, see if I could get a copy of that film for them so they could do the story, and that's how I got into that.
Well, you don't want to screw around with the mafia.
Yeah, that'd be the last guy.
That'd be like the last thing to have someone going after you, a hitman. Well, these are.
Wait.
Paul, you're going to write a book. Are you writing a book? I mean, the story.
I tried, but people, they can't handle my fucking book. They don't want to hear the truth.
Self-publish it. You have an audience.
I've been telling them that.
Well, if I self-publish, maybe, yeah, you're probably right. But they don't.
I mean, they're
they have a
interesting stories,
problem.
Paul. I mean, you're a character. You're a
People
true,
have a
legit...
problem with the truth. They don't want to hear that Robert Blake killed Bonnie Lee Bagley. They love Robert Blake.
Nah,
they love
people want to
Beretta.
hear the truth.
They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear the truth about OJ.
I disagree.
The whole world.
Paul, I think you're wrong.
I think people do want to hear the truth about everything if it's the truth.
If you've got the information, people die.
They
for
don't
that.
want to hear anything bad about.
Are you talking
Johnny
about publishers? Are you talking about
Depp. They
publishers?
don't want to hear anything that they perceive as negative about Johnny. I can tell you that.
But who are you talking about? The fan base, or are you talking about publishers to do a book?
Who it is?
Paul,
I don't know,
your stories are amazing.
But a lot of people, I'll put a thing out there based on fact, and then somebody under a pseudonym is coming after me. I can't. I would love people to use their real fucking name. If they're gonna say something, then give me their real name. You got my name. I'd
Cato,
like to know your name.
You
too.
might have some advice for Paul because he's a lightning rod on Twitter because he posts a lot about Depp and Amber Heard. And, there's we know how it's like out there. You get these fan bases and they're just crazy and they come after him. But, I mean, what would your advice be? Because I tell Paul all the time, just ignore it. I mean, that's easy for me to say, but you just got to, these people just do not matter in your life. But
Well, I think Paul's a lot different than me. I think I'm very sensitive. I don't think Paul is. I mean, I'm sure
Well, I
somewhat
don't like
sensitive.
personal. I don't like personal attacks, especially from people who have their head up their ass. They don't have a clue what the fuck's going on. They have no fucking clue.
Yeah, I don't.
And that bothers me. That type of human being. My best pal is a police officer with the Redlands Police Department, and he said there's bad people and good people, and he said in his career, he's been on the force 15 years now. 20% are good people, and the rest are just evil as evil can be. That's what he told me.
well, he's got a cross section. He's got a focus group, right? He's out there.
I believe it. I mean, just go to any website or any comments. That's fine.
Yeah.
Say what you will, but the personal attack.
Well, it's hiding behind a computer. I think it's just different. I think it's still today I'm judged and all that. And I always tell people just if they don't like me, but meet me first, then make your decision on that because it's different.
Yeah, I do too, and they never fucking show up. Not one of them.
They're afraid of you.
Fucking one of them.
Next year's going to be the year of Cato, and we're a month away from 2024. So I'm excited. It's going to be the year of Cato. Mark my words. Paul, I know it's bedtime.
The year
for
of
you.
Cato.
We're taping this at night. Is bedtime for you?
No, it's not bedtime. It's
Bedtime.
fucking 8 o'clock.
He's
What are you?
I'm not
This is
saying look that
Jeez,
good. Your
Tom.
skin looks great.
This is ageism at its highest.
Jeez.
I'm kidding.
my God. Next, you're gonna ask me if he wants some applesauce. Come on, I'm on Paul's side. Paul
I'm
looks
trying
like
to get him
Paul's a
riled
young
up.
stud.
Of course.
Ask
he
me
is.
if I took my Prevagen this morning.
Hey, Paul, I got a question for you.
I'm sorry, you hit a chord with me. I always hesitate. I know you talked about. It's one of the things I've shared with you about people in their comments. Mike Tyson said something like, "The only reason Twitter is a forum where people who don't want to use their name, the cowards, can complain about something or go after somebody."
Oh, it's so true.
And never identify themselves.
Let me ask you a question, Paul, that it's always intrigued me to. Have you ever interviewed people or actually gone into a jail or prison and talked to actual criminals that have done, well, possibly murder?
Oh, yeah. I went in and I interviewed a guy who sliced his father-in-law in sections up here, across the middle, and across the legs, and he had thousands of stapled stitches.
He
survived.
survived.
I don't know how he survived. He did it with a knife. Yeah, I've interviewed people like that.
So what is that then? You have to get. So you're interviewing them because.
Well, the attorney would, say, "I need you to go interview my client." She was a public defender. I've done a few of those, but my forte is in the celebrity basis.
No, I understand. I just want to know if you've done that before, where you kind of go in there and you kind of know immediately, like, oh, this guy is so guilty. But
oh, hell yeah, of course.
Yeah, you just got the feeling about that.
Paul, you working on anything now that maybe you can talk to us down the road about? Are you in the middle of anything juicy?
Well, we can maybe talk about La La Kent.
Let's do that. Down the road. That'll be interesting. Yeah. That's a big one.
You know the big thing in prison is now, Tom?
I do not.
The big thing, and you can back there's minimum security, maximum security, but now they're finding out. This is true. I'm not making this up. That the biggest thing going on is they're when they get a visit is getting them a cell phone, and then the cell phones are in the prison. They have a cell phone, and they put it up their ass. They put the phone up their ass, and they're finding this now in the news. Just saw us 2 weeks ago. They're finding it in the cavity searches and all that. And I always thought that if I was the guy there and my phone started going off, ringing, you'd have to worry if the cellmate would say, "I'll get that." I always thought about it.
That's a good one.
Well, that's a true story.
Did you see Suge Knight's doing a podcast in prison? He's doing it from a payphone, but
come on,
yeah.
See, that's what I mean. I mean, they get their it's sort of like maximum and minimum security of a white collar crime.
Sure.
Is that your joke, Cato? Did you make that up?
Yeah, no, it's yours. It's yours now, my friend.
Oh no, I'm not
adding.
I knew something was coming down the track.
I'm adding to the show. Come on, Paul.
Paul, when he said, "Do you know what the latest thing in prisons is?" I was waiting. I knew it would be good.
In prison wear.
All right. Well, hey, we got to wrap this up, Paul. It's always great talking to you.
I love you, Paul.
And, next time for sure, we do the La La Kent for sure. That's a real interesting story. But keep doing what you do, Paul. You're one of a kind, man. And I got to tell you, the public would be interested in your stories, right, Cato?
Oh, 100%, Paul. And you look terrific. I'm not just saying that.
Thank
you. You're just so interesting. And I think glad you joined us for the show. I just think you're like an ongoing series. And I mean that.
My most difficult the thing that I have to do when I interview is I have to be careful what not to. I have to tone it down a little bit.
Well, leave it to them to edit it. Like we'll edit what we need.
There's so much more. There's so much more I could say, but I'm wondering if it might just be too much for your audience.
Well, no, but
handle.
There is one thing that I forgot. Maybe Tom knows. Maybe Paul will know. What is Sharon Stone up to? Is she done?
Yeah.
Oh, she is.
I don't think she's done. No, I don't think she's done. She's still doing stuff behind the scenes, and I think that she would love to find the right role, and I'm sure the right role is out there for her. Just like the right role for you and me is out there, Cato.
I know that. Always, my friend. I'm always there. I'm hustling every day, just like you are. I'm doing
a script about two cellmates.
With
what is a
cell phones?
What is a
kid with an unlimited calling card?
That's right.
One is a pretty boy, he's a blonde. The other one's a rough-hewn Italian guy.
And the Italian guy is going down by his ass going, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" Oh, I know that's going to be a great hit.
Man, let me work on the treatment for you.
Yeah.
And having said that, Paul, you enjoy the rest of your night, man. It was awesome having you, okay?
What a way to sign off, huh?
I love it. Thank you, Paul.
Great job, Paul. Thank you. Well, Cato never disappoints, does he?
We ended with an ass joke. I'm always happy.
We got to get him in studio next time.
Oh, yeah.
Because then we could go out to, maybe get a drink or dinner or lunch or something
yeah.
afterwards. Then he could really tell us the good story.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
you can always feel Paul's holding back just a little bit because he doesn't know if the public's ready for the real
Oh, yeah.
details that he has.
Paul is definitely a Musso and Frank kind of guy.
Oh, without yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it, man. He's probably spent a lot of time in there checking people out, going in, exiting.
I always wonder that, too. How many people you pass by in your life, like in Musso and Frank, who are private detectives? I bet you there's a lot more that you don't even realize that are, especially in Los Angeles.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, because they are needed.
Yeah.
And like he said, he got his big break from those Marty Singer and some of those big lawyers, right? And that's who you want on speed dial, right?
Yes.
When you're dealing with celebrities all the time. Okay. Hey, thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. You'll see our social clips every single day, little previews of the show. You get Cato's great wit and wisdom on his Twitter account, on his Instagram. It's the best.
Yeah, people are just loving the. I love the way you make up. Tom does a lot of the little clips that go on. They're fantastic.
Yep. And man, we've got a great roster of guests that are coming up. So we'll share some of that next week. But we got some good stuff as we wind down 2023 and head into 2024, the year of Cato. Trust me, everybody, it's going to be the year of Cato.
Jeez,
We're going to
really
make it
making me
happen.
feel great.
All right. Okay, Cato. You have a good week. Whatever you got
You
going.
too. I'm sure I'll see you this week somehow. Maybe, but we won't go get it. But I think I'll see you.
A little tease. We have a little event that we're going to on this weekend, and then we'll be able to share about it on the show next week. All right, it's going to be great. Can't wait for it. Thanks for watching, everybody. For Cato Kalin, I'm Tom Zenner. This is 1 Degree of Scandalous. We'll see you next week.